Hey everybody, it's Josh Rutledge, your co-host for FearScape Paranormal Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support us more, please head over to our website, FearScapePodcast.com. There you can click on store and browse some really awesome t-shirts and maybe pick a couple up, or even go to our Patreon page and see how you can support us monthly. We love bringing you awesome content just as much as you like listening to it. Enjoy the show.
Coming to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown. Join Stefan and Lance, the Misters of the Dark, as they review all things horror with their latest victim. I mean guest. New episodes of Misters of the Dark drop Mondays on the FearScape Media Network. FearScape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Hello, I'm so glad you could join us. I hope you brought your blanket to hide under. The spooky crew is going to discuss things and events from other realms. Ghosts, cryptids, aliens. Be sure to hold your blanket extra tight as the boys take you deep into the FearScape.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a I'm just super excited. I'm trying to do the sports thing since sports is gone because of COVID. So just bear with me while I do my sports announcer thing, okay?
Okay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of FearScape Paranormal Podcast. Let's get ready to rumble. Wait, is that copyrighted?
Probably.
Okay, well, I'm not going to edit it out, though. But this is Stefan Gerhardt. I am your host. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to FearScape Paranormal Podcast. I am joined, as always, by he is just fit like a football player. Fit, 9 feet tall, lips of a god, eyes of an angel. My co-host, Mr. Josh Rutledge. How are you today?
I am doing spectacular, and just so we're clear, if you watch our YouTube channel, that's actually a body double.
Oh, yeah, it's a stunt double.
Double.
Yeah, stunt double, body double. I mean, I only use body doubles for my butt shots whenever we do, we show my butt.
I use my real butt.
Yeah, I know. You're the Dennis Franz of FearScape, for sure. But no, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a really great show. We've got a very, very special guest coming on today to talk about UAPs and all sorts of really cool stuff.
Awesome stuff.
We've got Matt Tiller, who is the senior editor of the SCU Review. And we're going to be talking to him, talking about just some really cool stuff. I don't even want to give it away.
I don't want to give it away.
I don't want to give it away either.
Stay tuned.
It's really a great episode and a great interview. So, but yeah, I'm super excited to be here, Josh. I'm just feeling really good. I'm feeling good.
I am feeling an upswing as well.
I am.
I've had kind of a rough day, a rough week. Really.
It has been a rough week. I had a accidental root canal. Like I went in to go get my crown.
And fell on a drill.
Pretty much, yeah. I went in to get my crown, and then they were like, well, no, you're gonna need a root canal. So I had to then go get a root canal, and it's been crazy. But I want to give a shout out to Keith Age, our good buddy Keith Age. Yeah. Keith, it has just been a good support. I mean, he made sure to call me to check on my well-being after my root canal, and he was always so great hooking us up with wonderful guests and stuff like that. So I just big shout out to Keith, and we need to get his ass back on the show here soon.
Like if we had a soundboard, we'd give you like 1,000 hell yeahs or something. Like, hell yeah!
Or we should get some soundboard footage of Keith. It all sounds like this. Owl.
Giant owl.
I hate orbs. Owl. Psychics be damned. No, we're just messing with you, Keith. We love you. But yeah, I want to get into this episode because lots of cool stuff is happening recently and in the future, which we're going to talk to you guys about some stuff that's coming up soon. After the interview, we're going to talk about it, as well as pushing, our FearScape media network. There's just a lot of awesome stuff going on.
A lot of stuff happening right now.
Like I said, I'm just like high on life at the moment, which is maybe it's still anesthesia from the surgery.
It could be.
So, but anyways, let's jump into our first segment of the week as usual, the psychic word of the week.
And now, the psychic word of the week.
That's right. The psychic word of the week comes from the Encyclopedic Psychic Dictionary from the one, the only Dr. June Bletzer. Rest in peace, honey buns. This book is amazing. It's from the 80s, and if you have not listened before, this book is a wealth of knowledge, and I highly recommend getting it because it blows our mind every time. And we use bibliomancy, essentially. We just flip through the pages.
Just randomly flip it and like, oh, what's that word?
It seems to like correlate with everything we do most of the time. Slaying in the Spirit, still one of my favorites.
Yep.
But this time we spun the pages, flipped the pages, and landed on page 125. The first word that I saw was a word called computerists. And so immediately I'm thinking like Revenge of the Nerds or my buddy Dave Mattingly.
Or what's that show with Val Kilmer? The movie?
Oh, the movie?
Where he's like a smart...
Oh, you're talking about Real Genius?
Yeah.
That's a good movie. I was like, he's not in much anymore because his throat don't work.
Yeah.
That's a true story. Anyways, computerist says, and it is in parentheses, it says esoteric, which is such a great word, says soul minds who choose to live in the etheric world vibration in an energy field similar to a man-made computer after making their earthly transition. Advanced soul minds who are in an awareness of numbers and can comprehend the thousands of vibrational frequencies of the atmosphere. Desire universal love evolvement. And, of course, the little section at the bottom that's kind of like a little thesaurus says extraterrestrial beings, solid state life forms at the bottom there. Very interesting because immediately, like, my first thought when she's talking about this was Lawnmower Man, and I guess that's not right.
Yeah.
Because she said it's like being in a computer, I guess.
It's like Johnny Mnemonic.
I guess so. Yeah, a bomb. And I meant the film, not what happened to him. But yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. I mean, it's these soul beings she talks about, and it seems like they have knowledge, everything. It's interesting that she mentioned atmosphere.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
What's really kind of striking a chord with me on this, and I hate to do this because again I'm going to go back to Hellier.
Did you say striking a chord?
Yeah, I don't know if people heard that on, but we'll see. Bang. But to go back to Hellier, when Dana does the God helmet, and she talks about interacting with those entities and that how they don't really talk in words, they talk in emotions.
Yes, there are a number of channelers and the like that say that the things that they pick up are that their emotions or colors or things like that. Why we assume that automatically the spoken language is how and anything else is going to speak when no other animal does.
And as I was reading the back of my kid's shampoo bottle today.
I've been in the bathroom and you forgot your phone. I know exactly what you mean.
I realized that their shampoo or something was like fructus clean or something, but the French translation was fructus caress, and I realized that likely there is not a direct correlating word in a lot of languages for certain words in English.
For sure.
And so We just take whatever the perceived meaning of that word is and match it to the closest word in that language that also have a similar meaning.
And
right?
sometimes we just take that word, like taco, instead of calling it Mexican sandwich, right? You know,
Right.
sometimes we'll assimilate words
Right.
just like they assimilate our words, things like internet or
So
things like that.
if you're talking to a being who doesn't have the dictionary context of the language in which you speak,
right?
then perhaps the words that come out are the closest they can get to their intent.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, a great percentage of words are objects, right? They're based on objects. Well, they may not have a webcam. They may not have a T-shirt, right? You know, so it's like all of these things. So you'd have to, you know, T-shirt. It might be like upper torso covering. I don't know.
Well, but I mean, you know, so along that line, if you were to get a string in like an Estes message or a channel that said something like, you know, blue sadness escapes monkey, you know, who knows? Like you would think that was nonsense.
Right.
But in all actuality, it might be the closest.
Well, and we talk about that all the time when doing Estes sessions, that sometimes it's a string of words that may tell a story better than we realize.
Yeah.
We just don't know how to comprehend it yet.
Right.
So
anyways, but when you talk about
Computerists.
that computerist word, you know, thinking about that soul mind that is basically grown beyond the need for verbal communication.
Sure, it's kind of like twins, how twins can speak to each
Yeah.
other without, you know, everyone automatically assumes it's like the, you know, Escape to Witch Mountain or whatever, where it's like, Tony, can you hear me? Yes, Tia, I can. You know, no,
Right.
the twins, it's just this feel. My sister and I do it. My sister and I do that a lot. It's like we can just sometimes speak to each other without words, you know.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting.
So-
It'll be interesting to see how your girls communicate throughout their lives. So
Right now, they just scream at each other.
yeah, right now their walls are up. Jeez. All right, well, let's move on from our psychic word of the week and move to some spooky news. All right, so I've got a fun one. I actually have a Bigfoot sighting, which is kind of fun. I don't know that besides doing a full episode, if we've had one. But this comes from Coast to Coast AM, which of course is a fantastic radio show. But they also put out a lot of news as well. This comes from their website. This actually came back from July 27th. I've been hanging on to this. Josh, there's been a lot of paranormal news over the last couple months. And maybe it's because people are bored on because of the quarantine. They've had more time to look into stuff. But like,
look up.
before quarantine, I mean, I feel like I was always struggling to find stories. Now I have like 15 waiting in my bookmarks, like to use.
Yeah.
So
we had bots set up to look for stuff.
yeah, but I mean, I had them set up before, and it was like nothing like this.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, this one, the article's headline says bizarre Bigfoot encounter reported in New York's Hudson Valley. So what it says is, in a strange case out of New York's Hudson Valley region, a woman claims to have had an unsettling encounter with an aggressive Bigfoot. According to a local television station, the strange incident occurred earlier this month in the community of Hyde Park, not Jekyll and Hyde Park, but that's funny, and was subsequently reported to area Sasquatch researcher Gail Beatty. The unnamed witness, she said, recounted spotting a huge creature that appeared to be between 6 and 7 feet tall, and it was not Shaquille O'Neal. I will point that out. It was not Shaq. Undoubtedly already taken aback by what she was seeing, Beatty explained that the woman's experience took a troubling turn when the mysterious beast came running towards her. The bushes were parting, and she heard these heavy footsteps. Incredibly, the Bigfoot researcher said when the creature reached the witness, it jumped up into the tree above her, causing the branches and leaves to rain down upon her. This potential Bigfoot, Beatty recalled being told by the witness, then proceeded to leap from tree to tree above their head. Although she did not indicate how the encounter came to an end, the Sasquatch researcher said that the woman understandably described the entire affair as terrifying. Unfortunately, it would seem that the woman did not obtain any evidence of her encounter in the form of a photo or video, presumably because she fled the scene rather than wait around to see what the creature would do next. And I will just add here, I highly recommend that for anybody. If a Bigfoot is coming at you,
Right.
run. Just get out. I mean, you know, there are a lot of research and stories that say they are very aggressive and very
Territorial.
protective and
Yeah.
territorial. Get out of there. Yes, we want evidence, but trust me when I say somebody's just going to say it was CGI'd anyways.
Right.
So get out of there, protect yourself, and just report it. So
Right.
that's what we want to know. But again, she's unidentified because the stigma behind it.
Right, exactly.
And man, I'm just telling you, like when she said this thing came running at her, oh man, I'd have either passed out or ran. Like,
Well, and, you know, it's a good thing you had your knee fixed.
oh, I know.
Because you'd be dead.
Yeah, I'd be like, come get me. I hope you're more sassy than Squatchy. But yeah, there is on the article there is a little video. I think it's a little bit of an interview with the researcher and some little backgrounds into Bigfoots and stuff. But other than that, yeah, that's the spooky news for this week. And we have been coming across a lot more Sasquatch sightings and and the like.
Just in general, there's just a lot more sightings.
Yeah.
I mean, UAP, Sasquatch.
And you know, we joke that it's COVID, but no, this was happening
Yeah.
in, you know, towards the end of last year as well.
I mean, I really think it's just that activity is stepping up, and we would be going into potentially a flat period.
Maybe. Yeah, I definitely think
we're
we're
due.
hitting a flap period for sure. For sure.
So-
I mean, you know, with the advent of things like Unidentified and things like that, and even the Skinwalker Ranch show,
Right.
They even saw a UAP. They were like, "What?"
Right.
Not even trying to find one. So, yeah, I think we're starting to see a lot more. But speaking of UAPs, you know, the new term for UFOs that people are using,
Right.
unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Which really is more encompassing, because an object implies that it's a physical thing. Phenomenon is really could be anything of the aerial sort.
And we talked to Matt about that as well, and I love his explanation about not all things are flying. They could be floating. They could be,
Right.
you know, but I'll save that for the interview.
Yep.
But I want to get into this week's UAP sighting of the week. All right, so as usual, we're going to be looking up through New Fork or MUFON or news articles where we can find someone that has found some sort of unidentified aerial phenomenon and reported it. So what do we have this week, Josh?
So I have a doozy for you this week.
Oh, a doozy. I thought you were going to say Doozer from Fraggle Rock, but
No. Who was Doozer?
the Doozers.
Oh, they were the little green
yeah, the
guys
little
that build
little
stuff.
builders.
Yeah,
that
that build stuff all
They
the time.
had no life besides building 24 hours a day, just so
Right.
the Fraggles could eat their it's horrible. It's a horrible ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
So this is not about them. It would be interesting to know if Fraggle Rock is based on any type of lore.
Yeah. Oh, they are Darrows and Taros, man. Let me tell you, they are the Shaver mystery. That is Fraggle Rock.
Anyway, so this happened in Glasgow, Kentucky.
Ooh, so another one here within our state.
Yep. This was on August 4th of this year, so just like 9 days ago, at the time of this recording. Event occurred on the Lewis B. Nunn Cumberland Parkway between Glasgow, Kentucky and Bowling Green, Kentucky. Time of the event was before 5 a.m. and 5:15 a.m. I was driving west on the Cumberland Parkway towards I-65. Just past the last Glasgow exit, I saw what appeared to be the woods on fire. Everything was red up ahead and into the woods. A minute or two after seeing the red from the sky to the ground, I observed several round silver disc-shaped objects with 6 white lights on the bottom of the craft. The first one I observed was approximately 400 to 500 feet in the air, and there were similar craft on both sides of the road. As I continued driving, I saw multiple similar craft all over the sky. They appeared to be stationary, and
and I would say there was 8 to 10 of them. Several miles down the road, right around the I-65 South exit from the Cumberland Parkway, I observed many more of the same type of craft, but higher up in the air. Maybe another 6 or 8 craft. There were several other cars in the area and a motorcycle right behind me. I would really be interested if anyone else reported this sighting.
Man, now, as someone who went to school down there, I went to Western Kentucky University, so I was in Bowling Green. I was on those parkways a million times.
I mean, there's no street lights.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty dark.
That, sir or madam, whoever this was,
Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine the emotions that you went through and trying to maintain driving at the same time.
Well,
right?
and it's like that picture you posted
I was just thinking about
almost
that
a
from
year
when I
ago.
was going up
Yeah.
to Ohio. I was looking at that because I wanted to send my UAP sighting from July 4th to Matt Tiller, and when I was going through my pictures, I came across that video and those pictures.
And it reminds me of like, so basically it's like seeing that and then seeing essentially 18 disc crafts with 6 lights on the bottom of them in the area.
Well, I'll tell you what, like with mine, had my wife not been in the car with me and she was sleeping, like I would have pulled off, I would have investigated, I would have drove all over the place looking for it because there was just a big giant cloud and I'm like, was something hiding behind the cloud?
Right.
Like, but I knew my wife would be like, we gotta get to where we're going. It's just swamp gas. Continue on.
It's a weather balloon exploding.
It's a Google balloon.
So, but yeah, I mean that is just an amazing sighting, and if the person listening or if the person who reported this happens to be listening, reach out because I would love to know more about kind of where this was.
Oh yeah, especially with me who's familiar with that area. God, I would love to know. I would absolutely love to know. So. Woo, man! I gotta sit on that. I mean, that's probably
one of the most solid reportings that we've read since we started doing this segment that can't be discarded as like Starlink or a satellite or whatever. So
I mean, this is hardcore, man. Like, and I get it. I get not having evidence. I mean, things like that. It's like, I mean, you remember I said when we were in Point Pleasant when we saw that UAP, I immediately like don't even think to get my phone out till towards the end, and when I do, like the flash is on. I can't get anything going. By the time it's gone. Like it's
so many of these things I think are really meant for the viewer. I mean, granted, we can share our experiences, and that helps other people know that they're not alone.
Right.
But really, your experience is for it's for you.
Well, Unidentified, Lou Elizondo, one of the things he says at the end of, I think, the very last episode that's out right now, which at the time of this recording is episode 5, he says there are so many military people, airline pilots, just people in the field that have seen these sightings and are too afraid to come forward. Yet if we would all just come forward, the noise we could make. Yeah. And there's already a good amount of noise, right? I mean, we do the statistics every month.
Right. Well, I remember reading, I think we talked about it once or twice. There's a section in one of the books that we just read. I want to say it was Secret Cipher, where at the time of that republication, they had done some research, and at that time it was estimated to be around 3 million people have had a quote-unquote UFO experience.
Right, and those are just documented.
Those are just documented.
Yeah, those are the people that came forward and then put it in a newspaper or in MUFON.
And I don't mean to. My next statement, I don't mean to hopefully make anybody mad, but I just want to say that there are more people who have recently had UFO experiences than there are who have had angelic or demonic experiences.
Yes. Yeah, I've said that. I've said that before as well, that there are more people that claim to have seen UAPs and things like that than anyone has ever claimed to say that they've seen Jesus or any other god that's out there, right? So and again,
that's not against
that's not against that.
If you want to, if that's your belief, that's okay. I'm not trying to tread on it. I'm just saying that if you put your belief in that, is there room for belief in something else? That
and
has,
something that millions of people are seeing,
Right.
and are having experiences with, right? So, and I guess it's because it's not a cultural thing yet. Most religion tends to be cultural. It's like your parents pass it on to you, and so on and so
Right.
forth.
Well,
Especially here in the good old U.S. of A.
Well, I'm passing this stuff on to my kids.
I'm passing it on to your kids. So, all right. So, again, we're about to get into an interview with Matt Tiller from the SCU review. But of course, before we get into that, I want to get into some creepy ketchup because you have been like teasing me about your experience, and I'm really well, and you also teased me during my experience. So let's quickly get into creepy ketchup so we can get to Matt Tiller.
Creepy ketchup. Creepy ketchup. Creepy ketchup. Creepy ketchup. Y'all, it's creepy.
All right, so Creepy Catch-Up, we are always talking about things that have happened to us within the last week or so that we have met, if anything odd or weird, dreams or paranormal or spooky or UFO or UAP related has happened. I'll quickly go through mine real quick because mine continues this paranoia that you, me, and Santosh have been going through since Point Pleasant, that something weird is happening, whether it's Men in Black or whether it's just legit our paranoia. But I was at work today, and I was there in the building again by myself, it's just creepy, man. Well, like, I'm sitting there, and there was a storm, but it didn't hit where I was working. But, you know, a lot of people were talking about in Louisville having issues and stuff like that. Well, I'm sitting there, and there is, I think, 4 to 6 big lights. And now the ceiling is like a 20-foot ceiling. There's lights and ceiling fans.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, they went out. And I'm like, okay.
But did
my
your computer?
No, my computer, my desk light didn't go out. No, the printers across nothing else went out. So I'm like, okay, I can check this. I'll go check the breaker. I mean, it's an old building, right? And breaker's not blown. I'm like, okay. So like as I'm walking back, like, boom, turns back on.
You said there was like a loud screeching noise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God. Oh, I already wrote that out of my memory. So there was this loud, like, screeching noise. It was almost like it was metallic, you know, but not really.
You know, of course I didn't hear it, but what it kind of reminds me of is like an old generator coming online, which is why I was asking maybe if it was like a generator.
No, because we do have a generator, but it's one we hook up when we need it.
Okay.
That we do not have one that's set on standby. It's a gas powered, you know, one that our boss brings from his house whenever the power goes out. It's just this weird quick screech, and then the lights come back on. Well, then, like, the lights go out again later after I've already said this to you guys, because I'm a little freaked out just because, you know, it is super dark and cloudy out, so it made the place really dark. And then, like, 2 lights come on.
Just 2.
Just 2. And I'm like, what the heck? I mean, 2 of the lights, the fans come on. The other ones are not. And then, like, a few minutes later, they're all back on again. And I'm like, what the heck? And I didn't tell you in Santosh, but a little bit later it flickered.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but anyway, so I'm sending you guys pictures. I'm like, look, man, I'm creeped out over here. You stupid. You send me this. You send me the picture that I sent back, and you're like, you zoomed on it a little bit. You're like, zoom into this. Oh my God, do you see what's in the back? So I'm like, oh man, I don't want to see, because I've had a lot of haunting stuff happen to me while in this building. And so, like, I'm zooming in, and I'm like, oh, okay, because in front of our accountant's desk is this big coat rack. And so I'm like, oh, he just sees this coat rack. He thinks that that's a person back there. Oh, I'm going to totally play it up. And then, like, my eyes flip to the left, and there I see this man standing there in a black hat and coat and, like, sunglasses. And then I'm like, this mother trucker right here, he superimposed a man in black in the back room, like, looking over a table at me. It got me for like 2 seconds. I was mad. That's
awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I was dying when I said it to you. I was just trying to imagine in my head what you must be thinking or saying.
Well, because, you just talk yourself into things, and you're like, oh, good. So let's get off of that. And what was your creepy catch-up for the week?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of just a lot of house activity lately. Like, just the house has been active. I mean, it's just, footsteps and floor creaks and stuff moving.
You're like, what's his name? Somebody's watching me.
Like a couple of days ago, I was working and the cat was like laying on the floor at my feet, and I hear like one of the doors push open. Like, oh, yep, that's not the cat.
Yep.
So,
bye, Felicia.
yeah. So, I mean, I've never ever felt scared about it. Like, it's never been that kind of feeling. But so last night I went to bed. Wife was tired. She went on to bed. I fell asleep fast. I always do. Well, I don't know what time it was, but at some point I woke up because our headboard of our bed has these sliding. It's a wooden headboard, and it has these sliding like doors, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And so when they slide back and forth, they bump into each other and they make noise.
Right.
So I was awoken by those sliding into each other and making noise. Kristen kind of stirred a little bit. So I laid there.
So you knew it wasn't Kristen.
Yeah. So I laid there and I was kind of like I had that body paralysis stuff
Sleep
going.
paralysis,
Sleep paralysis.
yeah.
Had that going. And I just kind of laid there with my eyes open and off to the side. Now, this is the same area that a couple weeks ago I had, like, with my eyes closed, this vision of like this entity standing there radiating energy at me. So I'm sitting there watching, and it's like distorted. Like, the area is distorted. And the best that I could describe it as is it's like when you put oil in water, and it kind of has that kind of distorted haze, and that's what it looked like, just kind of floating there, distorted. And at one point in time, I started to dismiss it, and it moved. It shifted off to the side a little bit, and then it moved back. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I was like, well, whatever. If you're going to do something, just do it and get it over with. I just closed my eyes and went back to sleep.
I see your cloaking mechanism.
But that got me thinking about the line from Terry Wrist and the line in I think it's in the interview with Terry Wrist in Secret Cipher. It talks about the ink and black. Now they interpret ink and black to equal out to 112, but also equals out to inner
right.
culture.
And they named the Hellier episode with Alan Greenfield the ink and black.
Right. So they interpret, and I don't know. This might be, I'm sure that in the cipher that works out to the same, but the interpretation is that ink and black is code for Indrid Cold, because in the cipher they both work out to 112. But what I would say is what if ink and black...
112 is also a badass R&B group.
They are spectacular.
Just want to throw that out there.
But what if ink and black is a description of their race or their entire people, their species? Like, what if they actually have no physical form?
Oh.
What if they're just floating ink and black?
All right, well, I'm going to throw this at you. There are a lot of people that say that octopuses and squid are not of this earth. There are many, many theories that talk about this because there's nothing else like them.
Yep.
And that they have DNA that's like nothing else. Well, they also ink.
Yeah.
And it's black. It's like, this is, and I know it sounds goofy, but it's, what if it's housing that, right? If your theory is correct that it is these beings, that is a way for them to, like a slug in a shell.
Yeah. Or is when they're spotted, they ink and disappear, and what's left behind is that distorted ink and black view that I saw.
Maybe. I mean, because it's crazy the way that octopus can, like, camouflage itself so quickly.
Oh, I know.
I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, it's insane. It's like even the reptiles that can camouflage, it's not that quick.
Right.
I mean,
they're just instant.
It's boom.
Yeah, and they can look like anything. Like they can make their skin even look like coral. Have you seen? Like it's crazy.
It's insane, man. That's why I like Finding Dory 2, like the second one, because that octopus is my favorite character.
And they've actually done a lot of experiments and shown that octopi are,
I know. I don't know if it's octopuses or octopi.
I think it's octopi, but they're very intelligent.
Yes.
Like they put a mollusk, which is what they like to eat, in a jar and closed it and put it on the other side of like a container, which had a couple of different ways to get to the jar. The octopus probed for a little bit, and then it went right to the jar and opened the jar and got the mollusk.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a rat do that.
Yeah. So I will tell you that the plural for octopus is actually octopuses. It says, however, people tend to use the terms octopi or octopodes, while octopuses is the actual correct term.
I disagree. It's octopi.
It says octopi has become very popular in modern usage, even though it's wrong. Though, and like anything, it'll just end up in the dictionary and change. That's the beauty of language.
Right.
But yeah, thank you.
So yeah, so that's my creepy catch-up. But
Interesting.
Like I said, it's just
I think you need to focus towards that a little bit and see what you can find and explore that. I'd be interested to see if anything else happens, and it kind of fits some of the things that have been happening to you.
Well,
so.
it's what I don't know, this is probably a weird extrapolation, but it's almost like something was on my wife's side, put its hand on the headboard and leaned in. The doors moved and it made noise, so it shot away, and then I just saw
Like an octopus.
well, and well, here I'm about to blow your mind a little bit here. What if that ripple is what's left over when they phase back into their dimension?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like an octopus shooting back, and it's like that ripple is essentially the ink.
Yeah.
So, boom, we just solved dimensional travel.
Yeah.
We're good to go. All right, well, let's get out of creepy catch up and let's get into this interview. Like we said, we have Matt Tiller from the SCU review. Good dude, and we're going to get straight into that right after a quick ad break. FearScape Media Network is your new home for everything weird and enlightening. Check out podcasts and YouTube shows covering content from discussions on horror films to the paranormal to meditation. Find out more at fearscapemedia.com.
Hey everyone, Josh here. Do you feel like mainstream options for things such as yoga, meditation, or documentaries and films meant to expand your mind are lacking? Have you heard of Gaia? Gaia is the largest resource of consciousness-expanding videos. Both Stefan and I have watched several of the series, documentaries, and films available on topics such as the secret space program, channeling interdimensional beings, and alien encounters. We're just now exploring the over 8,000 films, shows, and classes available to stream on your favorite devices. To get your 10-day free trial of Gaia, go to fearscapepodcast.com/Gaia offer. Again, that's fearscapepodcast.com/GAIA offer.
All right. Thank you guys for sticking around. We have the guest that we were talking about. We have the Matt Tiller, the senior editor of the SCU Review and host of the YouTube channel Tiller for Riller. Man, I'm super excited to have you on here, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us here on FearScape, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
The SCU Review. What does SCU stand for?
The SCU, or the full name is the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. Formerly, it was the Scientific Coalition for Ufology, but I changed the name a little over a year ago to reflect a more accurate mission statement.
Yeah, we're starting to see that a lot more.
Yeah.
This move away from UFO to UAP.
Yeah. And I wondered if it was because there's a lot of historical baggage, if you will,
stigma.
that's attached to the term UFO, and I wondered if UAP kind of was a reinventation of that. Any insight?
I think so. Yeah. The different ways, or there's like different interpretations of that, or perhaps different goals. For me, saying UAP is more like goal oriented.
Yeah.
A UFO does have a lot of baggage attached to it. It's almost like terms today, like the Washington Redskins. There's a controversy over should they change their name because that is a racial slur, right?
Right.
30 years ago, no one really thought about it very much, like in mainstream media and whatnot. So yeah, UFO, that conjures up lots of kooky stories, lots of weird, like, folklore.
Yeah, and gets into
ghost
science
stories.
fiction
It's
versus
fearful.
science fact.
Yeah. Well, and it really
exactly, and
and for a lot of people, I think when they hear UFO, they automatically go to extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if I, in conversation with someone, say UFO, they automatically think that, like, I am dead set on this being like an extraterrestrial vehicle or from another planet or something. Right. And UAP, in my opinion, is much more open because we don't know what these things are. When we say unidentified flying object, is it flying? Is it an object?
Right.
Yeah, we don't know. So unidentified aerial phenomena,
right?
That's more open to interpretation.
Ooh, and I do want to discuss episode 5 of
season 2.
Yeah, of season 2. Of Unidentified. I do want to get to that. But before we get to that, I want to give everybody a quick little history lesson here and say that we have been talking with Matt now, back and forth, emailing for probably about a year. Matt and I have a mutual friend that said, I need to talk to Matt. It's right up my alley. And she was absolutely correct. And we have had some amazing, deep, mysterious, wonderful conversations for a year. And it finally got to the point where Josh and I were like, let's get this man on the show because you are a wealth of knowledge, and we are so very thankful to have made your acquaintance. And again, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's cool. It's been a wonderful year.
Man, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Like, that's very flattering.
Yeah, I told Josh, I was just like, FearScape used to focus very heavily on just old school paranormal, like ghosts and demons and things like that. But once we started reaching out to one another, it took a sharp left towards this UAP phenomenon and things like that, and really kind of opened up a path for when Josh came on as well, for us to really move in that direction. And definitely emailing with you was one of those trigger points for sure, that really helped us take a focus in that direction. Now we still cover, classic, hauntings and stuff like that, but good God, we have been obsessed with all of this. Yeah. And so you are a very big factor in that, man. I just wanted to give you credit for that.
Thanks, guys. Well, it did me good, especially early on, and I do want to send sincere thanks to our mutual friend. It's been a while, but I've been very busy too. So anyways, I don't want to get into all of that. But I didn't really have anyone that I could speak with about some of these things. And some things were initially a little troubling. When you make that type of paradigm shift to where this is a part of your waking reality, it's like now you don't just close the book and say, well, this is a bunch of BS anyways. Who knows if it's really true, and you go to sleep, or you turn the TV off and you're like, yeah, well, it may or may not be true, you go to sleep. Well, when you make that paradigm shift, your first thought conversations you have with yourself, you start thinking like, well, if this is true, does that mean all of it is true? All of it. And we're talking about like the threat aspect, and look at how much we definitively know is true. It's not that much, surprisingly. even at a government level, it's not that much.
Well, what's really interesting, I think, for like Stefan and I is we've been really trying to approach things from a kind of a universal phenomenon perspective. So it's not just a UAP, and it's not just maybe cryptid, and it's not just Sasquatch, and it's not just whatever.
Yeah, maybe even ghosts.
Maybe even
things
ghosts are somewhat looped into it all, to say that it's all the phenomenon, and how does it all relate to each other?
Right. It really has been hearkening back a lot to the Shaver mystery, in my opinion.
Yeah,
really.
And I encourage your listeners and anyone listening in or whatever, try to find answers in your own thoughts. Try to find like a unifying theory, because that's the only way your thought process is going to grow. And like you say, it's you've got like Bigfoot or cryptozoological animals or monsters, ghosts, angels, demons, UFOs, all of these crazy things. They tend to occur in the same spots around the planet. Sometimes they occur near fault lines or parallel lines in the latitude, and sometimes they occur cyclically, like on a cycle. So like every year or every 3 years or every 9 years, these same phenomena will occur. Well, so then is it more of like, is the phenomenon more of an effect of how we observe it? Does it affect our senses? Not necessarily saying that it's a hallucination, but are we not accurately able to interpret with our five senses, because this thing, whatever it is so far removed from our senses that we cannot accurately perceive it?
Right. We talk about that all the time. We talked about the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know, where they talked about the South American natives there. When they saw the ships, they were so large and so crazy looking that that more than likely their eyes couldn't even see them coming into port, because they'd never seen anything like that before. And that so much of the brain couldn't process it. And the same thing can be said about UAP and phenomenon and stuff like that, that there's this possibility that our brain can't handle it, though some say that some humans are a little more open to it, or if you've opened that eye, so to speak, and see it, you will be able to see it more and more. And it's interesting because John Keel in Operation Trojan Horse, he talks about a lot of the UFO sightings of the early 20th century, 1800s, 20th century and stuff like that they were see-through, that they were almost like a hologram, right? And to me, it's almost like they couldn't process it, right? So that's what they saw, this like half image in a way, is kind of how I read it.
Here's another thing I've been thinking about lately. How many of these UFO sightings are time travel experiments in the future?
We've talked about that a lot.
Because if you think about it, like if you're going to invest research, money into research and development of time travel, are you going to go to the past, or are you going to go to the future? Well, out of curiosity, I would definitely want to go to the future first. But if I ever want to recover my technology, if it crashes, I want to go to the past. Because if I time travel into my backyard a year from now, a year into the past, and it crashes, well, then I know where to go look. In my backyard. It's going to be all messed up and covered with like 1 year of rain or whatever. So how much of a loop, if that is indeed the case, how much of a loop have they opened up? If it's a 30-year loop or a 100-year loop, could some of the improvements in the technology be due to improves technology 100 years from next year, 100 years from 2 years from now, and on down the line?
Well, and that really gets into the episode that we did on John Teeter
as well.
So,
oh yeah,
and just and then that idea that you can only go back so far as well
Right.
also really pushes that idea of it, technology advancing as well. Because
Right.
if you can only, let's say you can only go back 60 years, right? Well, that means 20 years from now, 60 years from now is 80. It's
Right.
like, so.
Yeah.
No, I would.
I'm gonna have to like plea or claim your poster there with "I want to believe the story of John Titter or Teeter." Yeah, it's so cool, man. Especially when he like is leaving messages for himself on the internet. Because see, I thought about that with the time travel experiments. You would want media coverage so you can see if it worked or not. I mean, how else? If you travel to the past, how are you gonna work? If there's newspaper headlines, you can go back and research, correct?
Yeah, there's another time traveler.
To discount it,
There's another time traveler thing that I had seen on YouTube one time, and it was it was a news story, and it was this reporter who said, "Fine, I'll go." This guy had been begging her forever, "Please, I'm a time traveler. I want you to see this. I want you to see this." And she went out there and talked to him and all kinds of stuff like that. But that's exactly what it makes me think of, is he can then go back and watch that,
Right. Okay.
So very,
Cool,
very interesting. Yeah, because that was not a fictional thing that I saw. She was like, "I don't know what to think here."
That's interesting. The most convincing case I ever heard of someone who claimed to be a time traveler cannot be separated from some sort of mental illness, but the testimony alone was not so far-fetched that you couldn't try to open your mind a little bit. It was a university student, I don't remember what country, who said that he remembers like everything he does, remembers that he's done it before. Like a persistent deja vu all the time with everything he does. And it's not just deja vu, it's like actual memories, according to him. But scientific studies into deja vu show that it happens most of the time around like like that time after lunch between like 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock where you're like mentally tired, but you start getting some energy back. That's most of the time when deja vu happens. It's because you're like mentally tired for the day. So maybe he was having a mental effect. I don't know. It's a pretty cool story.
I've had a day where it's just nonstop. I feel like I've done that entire day before. I mean, I've had that. Yeah.
Interesting.
So what was really cool about that John Teeter explanation of time travel was his explanation of time was that it's all streams of time are running in parallel, but they come to they're diverging from each other, but at some points they come together, and where they come together, that's where they can jump to a different timeline. It's only when they come together that they can jump. So he spends a lot of time talking about the calculations that go into calculating time divergence and stuff like that. And so the farther he gets away from his time divergence, the less likely he is to actually be able to get back to his own time.
Yeah, which is why a lot of times he ends up having to wait like 20 years or something before he can jump back.
Right.
Wow. I'd forgotten about that part of the story. Yeah, that's very interesting. There was a lady that used to comment on a lot of YouTube videos about him, and I started watching her YouTube videos, and she said that the reason she was trying to find him was because she was pregnant with his child. And I know.
That's some weekly world news, Matt.
Well, I mean, back then, this was like 2013, maybe like 2014, I think.
Yeah.
So back then on YouTube, you could email the creator of videos. And so I sent her an email, never heard back. But whatever, man. Like, I'm willing to listen to anyone's story.
Oh yeah. Always keep an open mind.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean I'm willing to believe their story, but I will at least afford them the human decency listening to what they have to say.
Yeah,
You know?
I try to use the improv techniques that I teach, which is yes and I do that with these things. It's instead of being a skeptic right away and I'm going to figure out how to prove it wrong, I'm going to spend some time and say, okay, how can I prove this right? And I'm going to go as far as I can, and I'm going to believe as hard as I can until I find something that tells me I shouldn't. Like that's what I want to do, and that's the type of respect I want to give others, because that's what I hope people do for my stories.
Well, so in using that as using that as a segue a little bit into hearing a story and not really sure what to believe about it, I'd like to, if we can, because we got a limited amount of time here, I'd like to talk a little bit about because your interest maybe in the Navy confirmed videos that recently, well, they came out a few years ago, right? And then finally the Navy has said, yep, they're ours.
Yeah, it was, let's see, it's the very end of 2017, like December 16, 2017, I believe is when the New York Times finally, or like they came out with the groundbreaking article. That's what brought me into this. I was always a passive observer. I used to watch the documentaries, even when I was a kid, like that one that used to come on TV, the TV show called Sightings.
Yeah.
Man, I love that show. Unsolved Mysteries as well, you know. So, but you know, that's back when I would close the book, turn off the TV, and go about my life. And you get so frustrated, you put it all aside, and you're like, "It's all BS. I hate it. You know, I never want to read this again." But when I saw Luis Elizondo on CNN speaking so matter of fact and real world and professional and friendly and like just confident and about this, is like, yeah, this is a legitimate phenomenon. We're investigating it, and you know, let's see where we go from here. And I was like, what? Like it totally changed everything. So
he's
there was
incredible.
that video. There was so there was the Tic Tac video. Then Gimbal came like golly, man, it was like March, or maybe it was still in December when they came out with the second video. I don't remember. I think it was like March. No, sorry, it was January when they came out with Gimbal, and then they released Go Fast. That was in March.
Yeah,
and they had the third video. So I don't know how far away you guys are from Atlanta, but I have some friends out there that saw some of the similar objects in the Go Fast video, where it's like a cube within a sphere, like a sphere of light almost. And these sightings were going on just in July of this year. And then
that's when I saw something, was in July.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
See,
we had our own
I saw some
sightings.
things too. What did you guys see? What did you see?
For
if you don't mind me
me,
asking?
was July 4th. I was trying to take a picture because, you know, we were supposed to have a lunar eclipse, but it was so light you didn't see anything. But we both have the new Samsung X20, so it has the 100 times space zoom. So I'm really trying to get these pictures of the moon, and I see this blue light kind of moving by, and I was able to snap a picture of it. And you know, after I snapped a picture of it, it started moving all around different ways and different stuff like that. Well, when I lowered the exposure on it and then brightened that up, it was this blue image that, I kid you not, looked like a traditional saucer.
It was like
Wow.
and had a blue wave behind it.
whatever I get.
Yeah. I mean, just like that. I mean, it was circle, like, you know, like you're looking at Saturn, and then it had these like waves, these blue waves, almost like a trail, a radiation trail or something on it.
Yeah,
it's quite remarkable. I'll email it to you. We posted it. It blew my mind. I was like, Josh.
Well, then, and then we had our thing in my backyard here in June, towards the end of June. We were tracking something like moving kind of low in the horizon from, what was it, like southwest to northeast, somewhere
like
in the
that, yeah.
Towards I'm really close to the Ohio River, so I was tracking towards the river, and you know, we knew it wasn't a plane. So you kind of like, Stefan kind of hit around it
with a laser
with a green laser, and it flashed back. Every time we would hit around it with a green laser, it flashed back.
And we made sure to do it at random intervals to make sure it wasn't, you know, like that. And it happened. Yeah.
So then, like, fast forward 10, 15 minutes later, we're standing there still looking in that direction, hoping we'll see it again. Stefan happens to turn around.
I kid you not, I was stretching my neck, and I was like trying to pop my neck, and I looked behind.
And there's this big, like maybe a quarter of the moon bright light coming up from behind us. We both turn around to look at it, and it just shoots straight up in this shot of light. It was crazy.
It was
wow.
It was
wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That
So we
is
had
really
a
cool.
number of sightings within like a few week period. I mean, we had another one just 2 weeks ago when we went to Point Pleasant,
West Virginia,
for the Mothman stuff. We
Oh,
saw
wow.
one,
Yeah.
for a good solid 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're tracking.
Like,
There's one flashing back at us.
It was flashing
again.
back at us, and then finally it like got annoyed and it started like moving all over.
Yeah,
the
it looked
sky.
like it was like trying to get away from the light or playing with it, and it was. I mean, I swear to God, like a solid 2 minutes, man.
Man, that's
Like
nuts.
it was crazy.
So cool though.
Yeah, we've been.
Yeah, it's so sometimes the phenomenon will it's hard to really describe what it does. It almost seems like that it messes with you, or it plays with you, or toys with you.
That's how I felt.
It may not. It may be malicious. It may be malicious. It may be neutral. A lot of people are so like just filled with the awe or the wonder of what's going on that they are led to believe that it's like a spiritual experience, or that like each side. I'm not sold on either. I just want to know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's real. I want to know what it actually is, where it's coming from.
Well, it's
why it
interesting
happens, how it happens.
Because John Keel, another quote from John Keel that I really am standing by right now, is he talks about people. He said, those of us that have an opportunity to see these phenomenon from the ground either see it by accident or it was done by design. And that just has blown my mind to think about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's pretty early on in that book. Yeah, and he says that, and I agree with that 100%.
I mean, I am like probably 3/4 of the way through that book, and he lays out, man, the things that he lays out really synchronize with the second season of Unidentified.
Yeah, for sure.
So much of the conclusions of stuff just really are echoed from that book from Keel. And again, he wrote that book in what, 70, 71?
Yeah, he wrote that. That was the book right before Mothman Prophecies, and then Eighth Tower came after Mothman Prophecies. But I look at that trilogy as the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the name of the book you're talking about again?
Yeah, it's Operation Trojan Horse. Which is a very fitting book title for what he gets into.
Yeah.
So
it's
I'm
excellent.
familiar with it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, like we were saying, we're seeing a lot of that in season 2 so far.
Cool. So what I've started season 2, but I'm not as far along as you guys are. So what goes on in episode 5? You wanted to discuss?
Oh yeah, so they and I don't so first of all, anybody who hasn't seen episode 5, spoiler alert. But they so episode 5 is all about interviewing commercial airline pilots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so one pilot telling a story, but confirmed by other pilots, is that they were flying close to Vegas, and they saw a tower of
they said it looked like an antenna
an antenna, but it was like blinking in sequence.
Yeah, so it's like this huge long tower that had, I don't know, 6 or 7 different lights, like orb lights on it that were not in equally spaced out areas, but they said it looked like an antenna that held these things there, and it was right in front of them at 35,000 feet. And 20 miles away from them, and then it was 5 miles away from them, and they're trying to hit up the radar. People are like, guys, we need to do this. And then an American Airlines pilot coming from the south, they were coming from the north, said the exact same thing. And it's insane. And Lou says that he's heard of these before. That's the first time I had heard of them.
Heard of the tower.
But it was like, even just the CGI image they used gave me goosebumps. Man.
Awesome. Yeah, I went into I shared my very, very, very first type of encounter that I couldn't explain, and it involved out in New Mexico. it'd be like a 2-hour gap. I was like 11 years old when it happened. But if anyone wants to go to Twitter, at Tiller4, number 4.
Yeah, for sure. Did you
that's
did you live out there?
I don't think I took it down. Yeah. No, we were on like a family vacation.
Gotcha.
I have a very strong religious background, and
Join the club.
we were at yeah cool. But we were at a place where you go like on a retreat or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of them out there.
Family activities and stuff. And I mean, there's a lot of stigma against religion in general, but this was a pretty cool place. But they had hiking trails all over the mountains near the Pecos watershed, where there are some paranormal things are reported. But anyways, so the airline pilots. And I've seen they're interviewing a lot more military now too, and it's like there's less ground these days for the skeptics to stand on.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely getting a lot harder for them to disprove than it is for us to prove. I was curious, and this is just an anecdotal comment, but. The whole To the Stars just really strikes me as a really well put together organization, and they do some things in season 2, like Lewis goes down to Argentina.
Yeah, he goes down to a couple different places.
Oh yeah,
and
wow.
And like
see, I suspected that he was going to do that. I knew that he was in Peru.
Yeah,
but last November.
He gets agreements with like the militaries down there to share UAP sighting information, and I just feel like that there's no way that he could be doing that without the backing of the United States government. I mean, I just don't see how it's possible.
Well, I mean, he doesn't, for whatever aspect or to whatever degree, I don't know, but he doesn't technically work for the United States government anymore. So he could,
right. We both just secretly think they've got a little more connection still than they talk about him, especially with Mellon and those guys. I mean, and that, because they're getting all these people that have never said anything before and some things like that. So not to create a conspiracy, but I think it's cool. The best part for me was when he went to the basically the Project Blue Book of one of the countries, and of course the guy was like, "We've closed 100% of all the cases as explained," and Lou's like, "Oh, okay, so you're telling me."
That was in Argentina when that happened?
I don't remember what he went to 2 or 3 different countries.
Yeah, he went to a couple down there. It might have been Peru.
Or it might have been Uruguay. I don't remember. But yeah, the best is he calls this dude out. He's like, you're saying 100% with 100% accuracy, you can say this. And then the guy's like, well, I mean, 99.9% were all misperceptions. And Lou's just like, yeah, okay.
When I first came onto the SCU, there was an organization from South America that reached out to us to see if there could be a partnership formed, and me with like another guy and I we're looking through these documents to see if there was anything we could examine from like a purely scientific standpoint. But there really wasn't. There were a lot of good leads or a lot of good stories, but there wasn't anything we could examine scientifically. There was one case that you could look at through a scientific lens, but there wasn't really any data to analyze and advance the understanding of the objects or mechanisms or technologies that were going on. So I took it upon myself, and this was before we got the SCU review newsletter and plans for the scientific journal underway. I took it upon myself to translate the entire 100-plus page document into English.
That's dedication.
And I got it done, but I didn't have it proofread and checked for accuracy. Because if I'm going to publish something, like I want it to be like obsessively compulsive, like perfect, you know. And an organization from the United Kingdom beat me to it. So yeah, sorry everybody.
Okay, so it was Argentina.
Yeah.
I just found it.
It was Argentina?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
he's the one
that's
that
the
said
Sephora
that.
document. Mhm.
Yeah, he's the one that said that 100% of their UAP phenomenon has been explained as not anything.
All right, so in this game of poker, I'm gonna throw in down the BS card because I've read through that report in the native language, and I saw several instances in which they were Project Blue booking this thing, and they were trying to find any reason whatsoever.
Yep, that's
to discount
precisely
every
what
report.
that's what Elizondo said as well.
Yeah.
That they just closed cases just to close them.
Yeah. I had a lot of time to sit with that document and look at it. That's the one that I translated into English. So
Remarkable.
But you know, I'm sure that the organization from the United Kingdom did a better job. You know, because well, number one, there's more of them than there are of me. Right? So, yeah. So.
Unless you're cloned.
Anyways, well, you know, under my NDA, I cannot discuss that. I'm just playing.
Hey, ladies, there may be more than one Tillafarilla.
Well, that's how you know he's the real one.
Yeah, that's how you know he's the real one. That's why you got to say that.
Right.
Yes. Hey, no taker for fakers here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh man.
So.
Oh my gosh, man, that's great. But yeah. So, anyways, I can leave you guys with some leads of where I think some of the disclosure movement is going.
Ooh, yeah.
Before I do that, I do want to say something that I've recently come to realize. With regards to government secrecy, does our government hold back the truth? Yes, I believe that they do. I believe that they have. Has our government withheld truth about the reality of unidentified flying objects? Yes, I believe they have, but I don't think that it's the way that we kind of think that they're, you know, treating us like kids, and we can't go in their mystical closet of magical treasures or something, you know. Okay, well, it's like this, we think like the government is not telling us something because they think we can't handle it, or because they're treating us like kids, or they have all this information they don't want to share. I honestly think that the government secrecy side is that they don't want to go on record investigating it. Now, where the quote unquote secret knowledge comes from, like the groups of people who do have more of an insight of how these things work, how the phenomenon functions, at least in part, or maybe where some of the supposed extraterrestrial beings, if that's such a thing, where they may be coming from, those groups are private contractors. So let's look at the case of Bob Lazar.
Yes.
He worked at S4 out of Area 51. Area 51 is a government facility. He wasn't hired by the government. He was hired by EG&G. EG&G was contracted by the government. So then when you do that, you are, in many cases, you can be FOIA exempt. You can be exempt from oversight in certain instances. You don't have as much monitoring, and you don't have to report everything to the public. So when the Pentagon officially owned up to these videos and had them online, below the 3 downloadable video files, you had a whole bunch of PDFs, and these PDFs were like purchase orders. And if you go and look through them, and they're all online, in some of these purchase orders, the United States was selling material to Australia, and it has something to do with National Oceanic Aviation Administration, National, what, I don't know, the NOAA, and the NICAT. I forget all these abbreviations of what they stand for.
That's all right.
But then you also had organizations that were based in Huntsville. What's in Huntsville? Space and Rocket Research.
Right.
Yeah.
They're building the machines that will build the aircraft or spacecraft that we use for the next Mars mission in Huntsville right now. Bigelow Aerospace used to do operations.
Yeah.
Out of Huntsville too. So some of the purchase orders actually include Bigelow Aerospace. You can go back through, and if anybody out there is more knowledgeable of contractor language or what some of the codes mean or what some of the materials are, you would probably gain a lot more insight and be able to connect the dots. And it's public. It's in the public domain now. So I suspicion that one next step, when they start talking about crashed vehicles or pieces or material that they have from these alleged UAPs, is you're going to have some analysis of these purchase orders and see some of the technologies that have come from them or analytical reports that have come from them. I think those purchase orders are there for a specific reason. I don't think it's by happenstance or random coincidence.
I agree with that.
So it's purposeful, non-directed disclosure.
Yeah. And it's also a way. It's a way to say, hey, look, we're not hiding anything.
Right.
That information's been out there for so long.
Right. But it's hidden in plain sight, so to speak.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I understand what you mean. Yes, hidden in plain sight. But sometimes people will see the Fibonacci ratio somewhere,
Right.
and say it's something's hidden in plain sight. So I don't think it's any type of conspiracy.
No.
I think it's a soft and closed disclosure with good intentions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slow disclosure, and
Yeah.
I think we've been seeing a lot of that. You know, just some of the docs that we've watched and stuff like that even talk about Hollywood being used as a way to slowly get people used to some of the technology that is already in existence, using sci-fi as a way to get us used to it. When the military decides to present it, we're like, oh yeah, that's like on Star Trek.
It's like the patent that I found and shared a few months ago about the Navy patenting that triangle craft that is also
the TR-3B.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a if anybody out there 3D printing, which I mean I'm not into 3D printing, but I did find a 3D print model of the TR-3B Astra that you can purchase online and print at your local library. It's just fun to have.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's that. But I think that the next, like when we first started talking, I think I was telling you guys that I think the next logical step to being able to understand, or for society to begin to accept that we are not, that we're not the only planet that harbors life, or that we're not the only intelligent life.
Right.
And again, these are my own like hypotheses here.
Yep.
I'm not speaking on behalf of the SCU, and these are my own opinions and thoughts. No other organization or entity. The next logical step would be to understand that that we've been protected by a group of people who are highly advanced in technology. We can call them angels. We can call them like the Denisovans, or we can, Yeah, like the ultra terrestrial, or crypto terrestrial species. But I think that there's another half step that will get us even closer to that, and that is evidence that suggests or evidence that proves that we humans are the extraterrestrials.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and if you look around the planet, I mean, yes, we have hominid species from the past, but we don't behave like any other animal.
No.
And flag me for being scientifically inaccurate here, but I cannot think of another species that or another mammal that's land living that gets a sunburn.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither. And I mean, I'm sure there is, but still, gorillas don't get sunburns.
Well, they're covered in hair.
Not the whole body though.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, their faces, they've got skin areas. So
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess
their hands or something like.
Yeah.
It just seems awkward. And then and then fur. Most mammals that are similar to us are like have some kind of fur, or fish have scales, or we have to wear clothing. Like we fashion clothing for ourselves. And I understand there's an evolutionary process, and science says this or science says that. Science says a lot of stuff that's not 100% accurate. They're even like rethinking the Big Bang now. I mean, how assured were we that the Big Bang was that's exactly how it happened? And now even Lawrence M. Krauss, who developed the Big Bang Theory and wrote a 11-chapter book about a universe from nothing, why there is something rather than nothing, even he is starting to question if the Big Bang is the exact explanation for the beginnings of the universe.
Well,
see what I mean?
And also the evolution, the evolution angle, though, it always had a problem for me, because according to our understanding or science's understanding of the history of what we are, what are we, Homo sapien?
Mhm.
Okay,
Homo
so the history,
sapiens.
yeah. So the history of that is only like 20 or 30,000 years old. So you're telling me that in that short period of time we evolved to what we are now,
Quicker than say an alligator who has been around
for millions of years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Why?
Exactly right. It has to I think another thing that we're going to begin to understand is that our DNA inside our cells, and maybe even mitochondrial DNA, acts like some sort of antenna, and that it receives a type of signal from the source of consciousness that permeates every aspect of the universe, every element, everything. And that consciousness itself plays a role in this active or sped up process of evolution. Like classical Darwinian evolution can account for some things, but it's not a blanket explanation. There's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing we're going to find out pretty soon. Again, it's not it's not the UFOs arriving in the White House lawn or anything.
Well, and like we've talked about, even if that were to happen, somebody would say it's staged or it's fake, or so.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. And and to add to that, we do have the theory out there of the false flag alien invasion, which is definitely something that could happen, whether it's real or whether it's faked. But if it's real, people will say it's real, or they'll say it's faked. And if it's faked, people will say it's faked, or that it's real. It's like, when will we ever definitively know? I don't know. It may take actual interactions, if that's even a safe thing to do, for human beings to interact with this other advanced intelligence in a safe way. If that's a safe thing to do, it may actually take firsthand experience for people to be convinced one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to have to be a slow, a handful at a time until you've reached enough people to start to sway the mass.
Yeah. And it's like the flat earthers. I mean, everybody gives them a lot of hell, but that's the way most people are when it comes to UAPs and things like that. Yeah. They're like, I ain't gonna believe anything, even though millions of people have seen it. I want to see it with my own eyes and not through your camera, because you could have obviously done $5 million special effects on your iPhone when you live in a trailer park. So. Don't get me started.
So hey, man, I know when we got started, you had a limited time, and I think we're over that time. Yeah. So I don't want to hold you up.
Oh, that's cool. It's cool.
But do you have any kind of, I don't know, parting anecdotal information, or other than my song? You can't steal my sign off, which is the truth is out there. You can't steal that. So say something else.
That's cool. I encourage everyone to keep their eyes to the skies, keep their minds open. If people say, the government's involved, I'm not going to believe it. And then someone sounds crazy, I'm not going to believe that either. I mean, eventually you have to ask yourself, who am I going to listen to? If you see real scientific evidence that's peer reviewed, of like an actual object, a metallic object, or a real physical object that's verified from like thermal infrared technology, electrical optical data, radar technicians, military experts, you can see the video yourself. You can actually read a scientific report, again, peer reviewed, with all the quantified data that tells us things about this object. You cannot deny that. You cannot deny that. If you do, you're lying to yourself.
Yes.
No one that I'm associated with going on public record, like none of us are saying definitively it is extraterrestrial, because we don't know. We've not gone to an extraterrestrial place to observe it being made, so we don't know. But we do know it's something. We do know that we don't understand it. And we also know that by denying its existence and not giving it credible attention, none of us will ever understand.
Yep.
Wow. That's incredible, man.
Eyes to the skies. Eyes to the skies.
Yep. And real quick, I know people, if they want to follow you on Twitter or YouTube, Tiller4Riller, which we'll share as well. And then where can they find the SCU review?
Explore SCU, .org. ExploreSCU.org.
Cool. We will share that for sure.
And also, I'm on Instagram at Tiller4Riller and SoundCloud Tiller4Riller as well.
Great. Yeah, cool. We will plug all of those, and we'll be looking for follows from us if we don't already have most of those. So.
Excellent.
But again, thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah.
We would love to have you on again sometime. This has been highly, I know you didn't want to say it, but highly enlightening, man. You've really expanded my brain quite a bit, to be honest with you.
Well, thanks, guys.
And I now have a whole sheet of notes of things I wanted to look up as soon as we get on here.
Cool. I gotta go find those PDFs.
I know, right?
Okay, yeah, definitely, sure.
So, but yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Best wishes, best of luck to you.
Yeah,
and
thank you, man.
if I could come on again in the future, just let me know.
For sure. Yeah, great. We will absolutely hit you up. And again, thank you so much, Matt. And we'll see you again.
Excellent. Take care.
Good night.
All right. Wow. Thank you, Matt Tiller. Yeah.
That was a fantastic. I mean, it left me wanting, like, I'm like, as soon as we're done recording, I'm like
so much stuff I want to look up,
getting online and looking up, invoices of where we build stuff to Australia.
I'm like, it just so much stuff. And I mean, we didn't even share the whole conversation because there was just so much that we, just stuff that happened before we started recording and stuff like that. Just an amazing wealth of knowledge. Oh, yeah. And, again, like we said, we've been emailing, and this goes back to Brad and I, back in the early days of FearScape is when, Matt started reaching out and things like that. So it's been an absolute pleasure finally getting him on the show. And I
mean, having read through a lot of the stuff in the SCU review, it's all really great, interesting things. So I highly encourage everybody to get out there to the website and check it out.
Yeah, it is very methodical, and I appreciate that.
Yep.
I love that astute, just kind of educational look into
Right.
things, instead of purely speculative.
I mean, it's
So-
very much like a kind of a traditional scientific review.
journal. Yeah, like absolutely. So make sure, like we said, to go check out all of his stuff. Tiller, the number 4, Riller, Riller. Check out his Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, and all that stuff, and go to check out the SCU review and all that. But yeah, what a great experience. So I want to quickly get into the listener story, because I love me some I love me some listener stories. But I've got a cool one that I actually, speaking of Brad, I actually had him do the listener story this week again, since he is trying to really push this voice acting stuff, and he's doing a very, very good job. I hit him up for this story. This comes from a guy named Mitch, and we actually, and I think I said this last week, on the FearScape Media Network group page, we've had a lot of people reaching out to us with stories, and Mitch is one of those guys, Mitch Jones, that sent us this story, and it's incredible. So I want you guys to just listen to this. And of course, this is Brad McQueary. You can check out his YouTube page, We What. Pretty sure it's just youtube.com/We What. But yeah, so let's take a listen to this.
My name is Mitch Jones, and I'm from Goldsboro, North Carolina. I was returning home one night in the 70s from seeing my girlfriend at 1:30 in the morning. There was a sharp curve in the road. To the left of me, I saw a woman with a child come out of the woods, waving for me to stop. She wore a skirt with the poodle dog with a leash, and her shoes were black and white, which I knew she was from the 50s. I stopped to help her, and she disappeared. I took a spotlight to look for her. I was over a bridge and looked in the water, and there was a 1950s car in the water. I looked in the water again, and it was gone. I went home really confused, and I thought about it for a long time. I looked up accidents that happened in the 50s and found one that happened there, which took the life of a high school girl. Even in the 1800s, a stagecoach crashed there and took the life of 2 people. So now I know I saw a ghost.
Pretty spooky.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of those legends and lore behind, like, the woman in white and things like that, especially from the 50s. You get a lot of those stories, but this...
Well, what really makes me interesting, or I guess is interesting to me on this one is, so he found the hit for the in the 50s, the car that went off the road, and the person that died, but there was no mention of a child. So why would the ghost have a child?
We don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, all he saw was the car, right?
True.
And maybe she was pregnant and people didn't know it.
Well, I wonder though if ghosts take care of other ghosts.
That's a theory that I've had for a long time as well. I've thought about that, especially after the Bardstown, talking about that woman talking about taking care of that kid, even though I don't know that it was hers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in the afterlife, which is really strange. But, yeah, and then to have a stagecoach crash in the exact same area makes you wonder. It's like, is this something that happens every 200 years?
Yeah.
Or
speaking of, the interview with Matt with, kind of things happening in sequence or not sequence, but
cycles.
I can't say the word that he said. Cyclical or something.
Cyclical.
Yeah, there you go.
Bicycles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? It's just odd to have something happen in the exact same spot, unless it's like a tricky turn.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but he didn't imply that. I don't think that's the case.
If your road is named like Crash Hill or something, you kind of expect that things like that's going to happen.
Dead Man's Curve,
right? Exactly.
Instead of like Johnson Way.
Right, don't speed here, mountain, it's just,
but it didn't seem that way. I mean, though North Carolina is indeed hilly for sure. But thank you, Mitch Jones, for sharing that.
Yep.
Much appreciated. And I believe Mitch was somebody who said he's got some other stories that he may share with us down the road as well. And Mitch, if you're listening, please do, because that one was good. I really enjoyed.
Spectacular.
I loved your syntax on all of that.
Yep.
But of course, you guys can send in all of your listener stories to us via our email at fearscapepodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to fearscapepodcast.com and go to the submit a sighting. And even though, it's not necessarily a sighting per se, you can still submit your listener story. Just make sure to put listener story on there. There's also a phone number on the webpage that you can call. It's our Google phone there, so you can call and leave us a voicemail or send us a text, and we'll be able to get it. I mean, there's a million ways, but if you send us a voicemail, we can use your actual voice on the show. So there's lots of really cool things that you can do.
You can hit us on Facebook. You can hit us on Twitter. You can hit us on Instagram. You can hit us everywhere. Everywhere that social media is fun.
But yeah, so I mean, that reminds me, it's like, you can check out, fearscapepodcast.com for all sorts of cool stuff. But again, I want to quickly, and I know we've been talking about this a lot, but I quickly want to talk about the FearScape Media Network before we go. This is our big deal.
Yep.
We've got, it is the new home for our new media empire,
right,
so to speak. But we've got a new podcast. I'm host with my friend Lance Wayne, Misters of the Dark. We've got an episode with Brad actually coming out. Probably will have come out about 2 days ago on Killer Clowns from Outer Space, where we review horror movies and things like that. We've got a lot of great guests coming up. Stuff like that. We've got a podcast coming out soon. I believe it's called I already forgot. Ray Robinson has
Unsensitive.
Yes, thank you. Unsensitive, where he's just gonna learn some people some stuff for just his agenda. I'm very, very excited. FearScape Media Network does not hold the views of Ray Robinson, but we do think he's a great friend and he's absolutely hilarious. So we're looking forward to that, as well as Tales from the FearScape, already in production phase right now. I got some really cool stuff coming out for Tales from the FearScape. The first episode's going to be dropping soon, and then we've got FearScape Unhinged on YouTube. We've got Paranormal Tech. I mean, there's just so much awesomeness out there.
Yep.
And all of that can be found on fearscapemedia.com, or if you're on Facebook, join the Facebook group.
Right.
Just search FearScape Media Network, or if you're already a fan of our Facebook page, look for my invite, because it only lets me invite like 20 people a day, and we have 3,000 fans, so it's like it's taken me a while, but I'm going to get you all. But if I don't, in the meantime, get on there. You can share your memes, share your stories. Misters of the Dark Lance is the bomb. I mean, he's always sharing horror news and just fun stuff on there. It is just a fantastic place for people to share things, and so do it. We have some amazing guests coming up in the next couple weeks. Quite the lineup
coming up, yeah. We've got Ken Gerard, Gerhard.
I guess I don't know. I would assume it's Gerhard, like my name, because even though it's spelled different. Though it could be Gerard. I know some people that have that last name spelled that way, which is actually the truer spelling of my name. My name is a variation of that.
So you should actually be Stefan Gerhard.
Yeah, but no, the way that Ken has his last name spelled is the OG Gerhard spelling. So it's either, but some do pronounce it Gerard. It just depends. But yeah, he's coming on. He is the nation's leading expert into cryptozoology.
Yep.
He is absolutely amazing. He's got a number of books online, including the Essential Guide to Bigfoot, which you can find online. And when he comes on, we're going to be giving away a free signed copy. You're going to want to check out that episode. So much cool stuff. And who else we got coming on?
Connor Randall.
Connor from Hellier.
From Hellier.
We have got Connor Randall from Hellier, Mr. Tin Can himself. I'm so very excited. I love Connor. I love his idea of numbers. We talked to Alan Greenfield a lot about him.
Definitely feel like, as far as that Hellier stuff goes, I feel like Connor is really on the right track. So it'll be interesting to see, A, has he made any progress since that he's willing to share? And B, kind of what else Connor likes to get into.
Yeah, I'm super excited about Connor. It's going to be in a few weeks. So one of the things that we're doing for both Ken and Connor is we are going to be doing questions from our blanket huggers. So we're going to be posting some stuff on our Facebook page and Twitter and all that jazz. If you have a question for either Ken or for Connor, you can submit that to us. And, we won't have time to read them all, but we're going to pick a couple of those, and we're going to ask Connor and ask Ken those questions from you, our audience. So very cool opportunity for you guys.
Exactly. So. And, you could do that on our Facebook page, or you can do it in the FearScape Media Network Facebook group.
Yep, you sure can. It's going to be lots and lots of ways. So I'm tired of plugging ourselves, which sounds really gross. But I want to get out of here.
Yep.
But again, thank you to Matt Tiller.
Yep.
If you guys haven't watched Unidentified, just go ahead and get on it because, you heard us talk about it a lot with Matt. It's just an amazing show, and there's some real stuff getting dropped out there. So get out there, and we're going to go, and we'll see you guys next week. This has been Stefan, and I will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Josh. The truth is out there.
And remember, folks, hold those blankets extra tight because things tend to get spooky when you're listening to FearScape. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'm so glad you were able to join us for that horrifying discussion. I hope they didn't frighten you too much. Tune in next week for even more research into the nightmarish and haunting creeps and spooks that we tell ourselves don't exist, but we know they do. Make sure you have your blankets, that you hold them extra tight. Next time on FearScape.